I feel like a huge moment for Rush there. When they go down and whatnot, you know, we got to go down and look at me and you down there. We just being nosy.
Wait, what y'all doing down there?
Yeah. All right, and I also want to talk about Rush a little bit. I know Rush, it's a lot for him. Seeing Smitty not there, I think I in specific took for granted how much he carried for us, especially on the pitching side. And now seeing Rush kind of going through it and seeing like how hard it is for him and how he's stepping up, and he's doing his best. Like he needs experience, right? And this is his experience, and I feel like he's learning on the fly. He is getting better. He's getting better, and it takes a little time, right? But you know, seeing not having Smitty and seeing what he did for the pitching staff on top of hitting makes me really appreciate, wow, Will Smith really does do a lot for us. And now having Rush trying to step in and do that, that's really hard for him, especially being a rookie.
Yeah, well, let's start by saying Rush is doing an amazing job.
He's doing an amazing job.
He's doing an amazing job. But like you said, it does make you appreciate exactly what Will does. Mm-hmm. And, you know, Will was the same when he was at that stage.
Yep, exactly.
Will had to learn. Yep. And, you know, Will had to learn with Kirsch, you know.
Which is much tougher.
A little bit tougher, you know. I mean, you know, and I also think that's one of the things that was good for Will. And I think, you know, you look at what Rush is doing with Shohei and with Yama, like, it's good for him to understand. And, you know, we talk about this in the infield all the time, like why we call in certain pitches in these situations. And, you know, not that we're second guessing anybody, but you start getting this feel for the game that I think Rush is still learning. You know, sometimes it's okay to get away from what the sheet is telling you to call. You know, and that was the thing that I think Will learned with Kirsch a lot, because, I mean, what's Kirsch throwing? He's throwing a fastball slider, and it's going to be into a right-handed batter. Well, there's a lot of times when Will would look at the sheet and be like, well, we can't throw a slider to this guy. He hits it. And it's like, that's what Kirsch is going to throw. That's his best pitch. He needs to throw it. And I think that helped Will learn. Sometimes it's okay to go off script and, you know, do things that maybe the data says is not what you should do. And I think, you know, that's one thing that we would agree Rush is learning, especially with Shohei. Shohei wants to throw certain pitches in certain locations, and maybe the data says that's not the best thing to do, but, you know, when the pitcher is convicted in doing that, you have to go off what the pitcher wants, especially when it's a guy like Shohei, Yama, you know.
I mean, really, everybody in our staff. Yeah. At some point, you know, he'll be, when Snell and all these guys get back, like, he'll be catching those guys
and
as
like,
well.
You know, there's times where, hey, that's probably not the pitch you should throw, but that's what the pitcher really wants to throw, and so you got to let him do it, and you got to make sure you're behind him. And, you know, I think that's one of the things that Rush is learning, and it's it does make you appreciate Will, because Will's grown so much in that aspect of it that you know, there's no second guessing what he's calling back there, and the pitchers have given full trust to Will, and, you know, I feel like Will's hardly ever shaken off. Like, it's very few times, and you know, you go to Will. One of the things I love when Yama's pitching, and, you know, I know you've seen this. Yama goes to his pitch comm, right, and he'll call a pitch, and he looks at Will, and he's like.
Yeah,
and, you know, he wants to make sure Will thinks it's a good pitch to throw, and then that's where Will's like, if that's what you want to throw, then yes.
Yeah.
Like, that's
for sure.
That's the best pitch you should throw.
For sure. I knew, and then I know I want to speak a little bit about the situation in Minnesota with Rush and Shohei. Obviously, we all, you know, everybody kind of saw it. That was really kind of I feel like a huge moment for Rush there. When they go down and whatnot, you know, we got to go down and look at me and you down there. We just being nosy.
Wait, what y'all doing down there?
Yeah, that's what I was being nosy, man. You know, I was really just kind of seeing how this is going to play out. You know, like what was possibly going to be said.
I think it was a good growing moment.
Yeah, for sure.
You know, obviously you don't want any of that to happen with your teammates, but I think it's a good growing moment for both guys, because, you know, Sho's not always going to be able to throw to Will,
right?
And you know, for Rush, he's got to learn that and this is one of those moments where it was like, hey, sometimes Sho wants to throw a pitch that maybe isn't the best pitch to throw, and I think that's what Rush was kind of learning in that moment. And sometimes things can speed up during the game, and I think that's a little bit what happened there. And again, like we've said before, that's experience that you learn how to deal with that the more you've been in those types of situations.
And what I really enjoyed was like how Rush later on took accountability, and he knows that he has a lot on his plate. He really knows it.
You're the catcher for a staff that's first in baseball in a lot of categories. So that's a lot on your plate, and he's done an amazing job handling it.
Mm-hmm. He's done a great job handling it, and I think he'll just keep learning. He'll just keep learning, and then as Smitty comes back, I'm sure he'll learn even quicker.
Look, not one of us knew how to handle that situation at that stage.
No, we all had to learn. Yeah, everybody does.
I mean, how many times were you peeking around the corner and I was breaking a bat down in the tunnel or something? Which
I love, by the way. I love that.
But like we've all been there. You have to learn, you have to grow, and you can't do that until you've experienced it. And sure. That's what he's going through right now.
Yeah, exactly. So I want to talk a little bit about pursuing the three-peat. Obviously, everyone knows that. What do you think we really need to do to get there?
Man, we just keep doing the same thing we've been doing. And it's, for us, again, we show up every single day. We don't let anything carry over from previous days, except for on the bus. Everything's fair game on the bus. But like in terms of the game, we don't let anything carry over from previous days, whether you've had 3 home runs, 3 strikeouts, 10 punch outs, no punch outs, you made 3 errors, you made 3 diving plays. Like nothing carries over to the next day. You show up every single day, you do your routine, you got to work, you're 0 for 0, you got to go out there and play that game. And we do such a good job of like, that's all we focus on is, all right, what are we doing today to win this game?
Today, yeah.
We're facing, Ginn today. And, what are we going to do to beat him? Well, then now we're going to face whoever tomorrow. Like, we don't know who we're facing tomorrow. We don't care until it's tomorrow. And then we face that guy. And then, every day you show up with that kind of attitude and that mindset. And, we've done that the last several years, and that's kind of been what's gotten us over that hump. And, we just got to keep doing that, I think.
Do you think there's a difference in energy this year than other years? Like nervous energy. For me, I think that the energy is, we don't even think about three-peat or any of that. I think we're just thinking about, to your point, like one game at a time, and then eventually we'll get there.
You know what I think, honestly? We got a bunch of guys that we're getting old, and I think some of us are starting to see that light at the end of the tunnel. And so I think we've got a bunch of guys that are trying to enjoy being out there every single day as much as possible.
Yeah.
And Miggy Rowe's the leader of that, obviously. But like, I just don't think we have time to let anything else like worry us. We just want to enjoy being with the boys out there every single day, working and playing and winning. And I don't think any of that other stuff's on our mind.
I don't think so either. I wholeheartedly agree with that. I think we just have fun every day, man.